So we had a guy bring us up a Porta power cylinder that's leaking oil out of the top of it. And I don't know if you did any of those or not, but they're a little different. So we're going to show you how to do one here. This one is a Simplex 20-ton. And usually what I work on a lot is Enerpac, but they're all basically built the same. They're a one-way cylinder with a spring inside that returns them. A lot of times to get to the spring you have to take this fitting off of here, and when you take this fitting out, inside of there you'll see there's a screwdriver slot or an Allen head that holds a bolt that holds the bottom loop of the spring. So when the cylinder is all the way retracted, and sometimes they can be a little tricky to get that in there and get that bolt started. The Allen heads are a lot easier than the ones that have a screwdriver head on them. But we're going to pull this one apart real quick and show you the inside of it and how it works. One thing to remember is that these things run on 10,000 psi of oil pressure, so that the U-cup that sits on the cylinder rod, the bottom of the cylinder rod, is actually a special type of a seal that will withstand that pressure. So just don't measure it and put any old U-cup in it. Go back and put the right stuff in it, otherwise it's going to fail. This particular cylinder has a spanner top that unthreads, and I've got a little tool here that I use for stuff like that, and it's made by OTC. It's made for Toyota camshafts. It's a 6613 OTC. I've used it a lot. Give you a quick look here at what it looks like. So these are all the different tools that thread into this one head assembly, and this adjusts, and then if you want to, you can put a 1/2-inch drive on the end of that to get some extra leverage. But it's real handy, and it works really well for these little cylinders like this, as long as they're not too terribly bad to get apart and rusted. Usually they're not, because they sit inside of a shop someplace. We'll go over and we'll get the right tool in the hole, and we'll get it setting in the vise, and we'll get ready to pull that head gland out. So there, that come loose pretty easy, really. I didn't have to put any extra leverage on it or anything. Before we go too far, we want to get this fitting out of here. So I'm going to go down in this hole with a small skinny screwdriver and catch the very edge of that spring, and then unscrew this, and that will let it relieve itself. Otherwise the spring just keeps turning around and around and around. But by holding it, the edge of the spring with a screwdriver, I can unthread this bolt out of here that holds it. I get it out and I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's a little bit hard to visualize down in this little bitty hole. Alright, so it just came off. So that's the anchor bolt with a copper washer, and it just now came free. So we'll finish spinning that gland out of there. You see this edge on that spring. I went down in there with that screwdriver and held that screwdriver right up against that edge of that spring to unthread that, to get that out of there. And going back, I'm sure it's going to be the same way. We're going to have to try to thread it back on and hold a little tension on that spring when we wind it on. So here's your piston packing. It looks like an O-ring and a backup ring, and it's got a lot of little metal shavings in it. We're going to have to take a pretty good look at this one and see what all we got going on, but we'll take it over here on the bench where we can look at it a little better and finish taking it apart. So I don't see any bad scarring in the bore. Usually, like the Enerpacs and that, you see that they use a U-cup that sits right there, and usually it's an all-white Teflon U-cup. This is an O-ring, and you can see that it is pretty tough, but it's also pretty old. And then the backup ring behind it, pop that backup ring off there. A lot of these backup rings, you know, they have a little, one side's convex just a little bit and the other side's flat. So the convex side always goes up against the O-ring. This one here is pretty old and it has got a lot of wear on it. But it does have a convex side, so the convex side always goes against the O-ring. The piston's got a lot of wear on it because it's been used a lot. You can tell that by looking at it. This head gland is probably, you can see where the top of it has been dented and smashed, and right now I can't get that to turn off of there. So I'm probably going to tap this ring down a little bit and see about maybe polishing or filing the top of this where it's smashed to get that off. Do that, but here's another one here. So that needs to be, we'll probably take that over and stick that in the lathe, and we'll just take a real light cut off of that to make sure that we get all the mushroom off of that real quick like. Mushroom. That's just about right. Put a little polish on the end of that shaft there real quick with some crocus cloth, clean it up. Yeah, you can see the other seal right here in this lip. Pretty bad when they're mushroomed that bad. So that cleaned up real nice. It's got a little dent right here in it, but that's not going to hurt a thing. The last little seal to pop out is right here in the head gland. And it's just a little thin dust wiper is all it is. So we have our new Simplex kit. An O-ring, a backup ring, and a dust wiper. I tell you, it's unbelievable what that amount of parts cost. I saw them from $155 to about $40. So, O-ring, backup ring, and a dust wiper. Unbelievable. First thing we're going to start with is we've got everything cleaned up. You remember now that the fluid comes in and it pushes up on the ram, so the backup ring will be the first one to go on. Put the backup ring on there and slide it all the way down And then we'll put the O-ring on next. And we'll run it around and around, make sure we don't have twist in it. So the backup ring's on the top, O-ring's next. The next one we're going to do is we're going to put in our dust wiper, and the little taper goes to the top. So we'll set it in there. Walk it around with your finger, make sure it doesn't have a kink or anything in it, just like that. So it sits in there real nice. Then we're going to take and we're going to lube it all up with some good white lithium lube. I'm going to lube that cylinder also a little bit, so that when it's touching on the dust wiper, it has some lube tube. And then I'm going to lube up the inside of the barrel like that. Set it in there and gently push it to the bottom. I'm going to put a little bit of extra lube on that dust wiper. Like that. Hold the bottom of it. You put a little extra squeeze on the bottom there and line up your fitting, because that's going to be alright. That's good and tight. Now we're going to take and we're going to put it up here on its side. Get a hold of the bottom of it. Then I'm going to stick my screwdriver and hold pressure down on your screwdriver, so when a spring comes up, it bumps up against it. That's pretty tight right there. Now we're going to take a little Teflon tape. I've cleaned off the old Teflon tape. We're going to put some new Teflon tape on there. Screw it in the cylinder. When you get ready to start pumping it up, lay it on its side and watch around your anchor bolt hole to make sure that it's not going to start leaking. Sometimes you have to pull this cylinder out a little bit and then go back and retighten it. But if you've got it good and tight, you should be alright. But we'll see what happens. It starts to pump it up, which it's doing now. I keep an eye on this side and this side to make sure I don't have any leaks. That's pretty good right there. I've got quite a bit on it. I don't see any leaks on the bottom. I don't see any leaks on the top. It's got a lot of pressure on it. That should be about, 10,000 psi, so that's about 20 ton of lift right there. Let her go back down. Then if you're doing an Enerpac cylinder, you go through the filler hole, and they have a little Allen screw in there, so when the cylinder's down, that Allen screw is going through that spring like this, and it's anchoring that spring to the other side of the cylinder there. So you'll have to take that out. Sometimes they're a screwdriver head and they can be a little challenging. The Allen head's a lot more forgiving. Then remember too that there's a U-cup instead of an O-ring and a backup ring. There's a U-cup with a little bitty snap ring on the end of it that holds it in place. And then also remember that you use a flat spanner wrench to take this apart, and inside of here is your little dust wiper. But usually on all of them you can find that there's a, just like here, Enerpac 53 5-ton. You'll find some markings on all of them to tell you what they are. So there you have it. If you've got one, you can do it yourself. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.